Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
With the grace of the Almighty Allah, last Sunday, the UK Jalsa Salana annual convention reached its conclusion. The countless bounties and grace of Allah are associated with these Jalsas. We, with the grace of the Almighty Allah, are able to attain such blessings. In the Jummah Khutbah Friday sermon, the week after the Jalsa, I normally recount the blessings of Allah the Almighty and the impact that we find that occurs upon the members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. But in addition, I also recall how the non-Ahmadis, the non-Muslims who came to the Jalsa, were moved by its atmosphere, came to learn new things about Islam, and the reservations regarding it are dispelled. Generally, in the Friday sermon after the Jalsa, this is what I discourse on, and this is what I will do. But before this, I would like to express my thanks to all the female and male workers, those who were linked with any department whatsoever, who were working in any capacity during the Jalsa, from the position of the Muavin, the ordinary worker, to the head, both men, women, children and women, all of them work selflessly to fulfill their responsibilities and duties. They displayed an exemplary model before the non-Ahmadis, and thereby they were able to reflect and depict the true picture of Islam through their conduct. In particular, the Mu'awwinin, the general and ordinary duty workers, who on a very large scale presented themselves to serve the guests of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. The real work is done by these Mu'awwinin, the general and ordinary volunteers. May Allah the Almighty reward them all. In addition to the workers of the Jalsa, there are also the permanent central workers, for example, the workers of MTA, of which there are volunteers, and there are those from UK as well as from other countries. They made various documentaries that were presented, and they prepared these documentaries. There were programs in the studio, and there was workers who worked to facilitate all of this. So in short, every department during the days of the Jalsa Salana plays a very active role towards it. Then the Review of Religions has an exhibition that also has a very big impact. Then there is exhibition of the archive. Then there is the photo exhibition. All of these departments are working to their ability, and all the workers who worked prior to the Jalsa and after it and during it all play a vital role. And so in this perspective, they are all deserving of our gratitude. Now, I will try to present some of the impressions of the people within the constraints of the shortage of time. Male Yaqub Sahib, who is the Vice President of the Muslim community of Benin, took part in the Jalsa Salana. He says that he has done more than 20 pilgrimages to Makkah, the Hajj, but after taking part in the Jalsa, the annual convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I have seen far better arrangements here. The atmosphere of the Jalsa was such that I have never seen something similar in my entire life. I have participated in many religious conferences and functions, but the atmosphere of the Jalsa was completely unique. From the arrival of the airport to the accommodation I stayed in, the arrangements were all that it seemed as if I was staying within my own home. Then I saw people of every type at the Jalsa, such as doctors and professors and people of the educated denominations, people of highly intellectual capabilities, yet all of them served us with great humility and modesty. And this is what really pleased this guest. Regarding my speech, Hazur says, the guest says that I attain the true message of Islam through it, and this is something that is needed today. The global world of Islam stands in need of this. So do the Muslims globally, so that the reservations regarding Islam can be dispelled. He says, I learned a great deal coming here. He says, Ahmadiyyat is the true Islam. Then he says that I am going to go to Benin and inform the people that do not lend an ear to what others say. Rather, learn from Ahmadis, because it is Ahmadis alone who today in the world are truly shining a light on the splendor of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Simon Sevadu is from Burkina Faso. This guest is the Minister of Religious Affairs, as well as the Interior Minister. Expressing his sentiments, he said, as a Minister of Religious Affairs, I respect all religions. Attending the Jalsa Salana, many of my questions have been answered. Those questions that I had not even asked, I received the answer for. I was given a great deal of help and support. I have participated in a Jalsa for the first time. The holy and sanctity-filled atmosphere of the Jalsa was a great aid to me. Love, morality, and values are something we can all mutually live with. Regarding the Jalsa workers, this guest says, the volunteers of the Jalsa were cleaning the toilets, were cleaning the plates. The young children were serving water. All of this passion without sacrifice is not possible. The passion to serve guests is something which I found extraordinary. He says that I also went to the Fazl Mosque, the London Mosque. It is one of the first mosques. It had a special attraction, and he said in its simplicity was its beauty. Regarding the Bayt, the Pledge of Allegiance, he says that sincerity, loyalty, obedience, this was an example for the rest of the world through this chain. People were listening to the word of the Khalifa. The world today is racing behind materialism, but materialism is also damaging mankind today. He says, the guest regarding Hazur, that in his book, you have given a pathway to peace and to a better society. And he says that in the final speech, His Holiness spoke about how to be better towards the elderly and the parents. Hazur says many people have commented on this. Sayoba Rago is a member of parliament from Burkina Faso. He says the Jalsa was so good. Everything was so disciplined. Everyone was so welcoming. Whoever came from the world, they were all ready to serve Islam, that is the Ahmadis. I believe that today Islam is spreading through Ahmadiyyat. Ahmadis are ever ready to help others. He says regarding Hazur that you prayed for the leaders and for the establishment of peace. We were welcomed with open arms at the Jalsa, and all the other speeches were also of a top level. The chief rabbi from Greece, Gabriel Nagim, says the following: I am so thankful to God Almighty that He enabled me to participate in this extraordinary global United Nations Jalsa. From every perspective, the love for all, hatred for none motto can be seen through the Jalsa. I have seen acceptance for other faiths as a Jewish person here at the Jalsa. I was given so much respect and I had the opportunity to meet so many people. He says, I was so delighted that I could wear my special religious symbol hat onto my head without, God forbid, seeing any reaction from anyone. Amongst thousands of Muslim brothers, I would walk freely with this religious skull cap on my head. This is absolutely opposite to the experience I have seen elsewhere outside the Jalsa. I was taken care of in every single way. I was given food specially for me. I was even adjusted so I could say my prayers. He said this is no easy task, but the organizers of the Jalsa Salana and my hosts did all of this just for me. There is a chief of a Buddhist Yakiza from Japan had come to Jalsa. In Tokyo, he is linked with the royal family somehow. He says, seeing the atmosphere of the Jalsa gave me true tranquility of the heart. Everyone is checked for the security, yet I did not see any quarrels. I did not see any fights. From the food serving to the speeches, everything was so organized and disciplined. He says regarding my speech on religion that it was very moving. Today there is a need to explain to the world that through the elevated teachings of religion we can fulfill the rights of one another. Then he says that the Japanese society also is suffering from this respect to parents diminishing. We are not able to challenge this diminishing respect. He says that he says to Hazur, your advice, we must include within our society, and I will try to incorporate it and benefit from it. I previously did not have bad prejudices about Islam. However, when I saw the atmosphere of Jalsa, when I saw the Pledge of Allegiance, I could not contain myself, and I decided that to form a society based on peace, I should give my hand in your hand. Therefore, I took part in the bet, the Pledge of Allegiance. I accept your leadership, and I pledge that for the peace of the world, I will give every single support. Hazur says it does not mean that he pledged allegiance. However, the purpose to establish peace, for this, he says that the guest says that I am with you and I support you in every way. There was a lady from Argentina, Joseph. Her husband 10 months ago accepted Ahmadiyyat. Herself, she is a Christian. She says that I'm a lawyer by profession. Amongst the speeches of the Jalsa, my favorite was the concluding address. That is, Hazur says that she is speaking about my address. The guest says, well, with great detail and beautifully, you explained the teachings of Islam and shed light on human rights. Before accepting the Jalsa, I was a bit apprehensive. I had some reservations, and I thought that if people were to gather in such large numbers, there was going to be some quarrels and fights and concerns. But the way you gathered together is very different to the way we gathered together. In such great rush and such large numbers, despite the great amount of congregation, there was an atmosphere of love and peace. There was smiles on the faces of people. She says that I was also apprehensive that to attend the Jalsa, I would perhaps be given a compulsory obligation and be suppressed to do parda, the Islamic covering. But she says that from the beginning to the end, without Islamic covering, I felt completely comfortable. Both your men and your women spoke to me with so much respect. In fact, I felt as if you are taking care of me even more than other people. The Liberia Minister of Telecommunications also participated in the Jalsa. The Jalsa was conducted in such a brilliant way that I saw no shortcomings whatsoever, to the extent that some aspects of the Jalsa arrangements, from the public relations to the kitchen, were completely connected. Most of all arrangements were being done by a team of volunteers who, in a brotherly atmosphere, were working with mutual harmony. I have never seen such commitment from duty workers in my entire life as I witness these volunteers' commitment in the Jalsa. During the program of the Jalsa, the participants of the Jalsa also I saw expressing brotherhood and love for one another, for over 39,000 people, and on such a large scale of a convention to take part without any concerns happening, for me anyways, is a great astonishment. There was a female guest from Uruguay who is a professor of Oriental Studies at a university. She says that for over 30 years, I have been studying Islamic teachings and functions. After participating in your event, there are two distinctive features which I have not seen anywhere else. First of all, the Jamaat's unity, the community's unity under one leadership, I have not seen anywhere else. From the missionaries to the volunteers in different departments, whether they are the food servers or the people driving the cars, there is a distinctive and common feature amongst all of them, that they have an extraordinary commitment of love and devotion and connection with their Khalifa, their Caliph. Hazur says, this is the standard of loyalty which our guests observe, and because of this, the opponents also develop jealousy. This is something today we have to preserve. Through our actions and prayers, we must preserve this. The guest says the second distinctive feature is that I do not see any racism in this community, whether they are born Ahmadis or new Ahmadis, Arabs or non-Arabs, Pakistanis or non-Pakistanis. In your nizam, your administrative system, it is completely free from prejudice and racism. Hazur says, this is not something that, these distinctive features are not something we should just display for a few days during the Jalsa. Rather, they should be a permanent and part and parcel of our lives. This was the last message that the Holy Prophet gave us, that do not give superiority to a white person over a non-white, a black over a non-black, an Arab over a non-Arab. All are equal in the sight of Allah. Then there is a guest from Marrakesh, who is a professor of philosophy. He says that I had a great impression from the Jalsa. This was an excellent opportunity to see the community from up close. I saw a very disciplined and organized community. An excellent welcoming to the guests is what I observed. I also observed the high moral standards of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, which actually is a reflection of the teachings of Islam and the Holy Prophet. This Jalsa was also a rebuttal to the lies of the opponents of the community. They have unnecessary enmity and spite against the community. May Allah the Almighty enable you to continue in your service towards mankind. Al-Hajj Muhammad Vakil Yatara Sahib is from Guinea Conakry, who is the Inspector General of Religious Affairs. He says that in these 3 days of the Jalsa Salana, what impacted me the most was that the moral training of the Ahmadis is purely in line with the teachings of Islam. Wherever Ahmadis gathered, it seemed as if they were role models for Islam. It seems like they were all children from the same mother. It was the same discipline, same organization, same smiles from the people's faces. To allow the guests to come and receive them without giving them any trouble, it seemed as if these were heavenly people. It seemed as if today, if anyone can be an example, an exemplary model for Islam, it is the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. He says, I have had the opportunity to regularly go to Saudi Arabia, but I am saying this, that I testify I've never seen such a brotherly atmosphere anywhere else. I do not hesitate to say so at all, that amongst 40,000 people, to gather together in one place and to continuously promote the teachings of Islam amongst them without any quarrels and arguments taking place, and to spend all these days in the love of Allah and His Prophet is the distinctive feature of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Fanta Fakona is a guest from Guinea Conakry who is a lieutenant of the custom airport. She has also done the Pledge of Allegiance, the Bai'at, and she is a new Ahmadi. She says, although I became an Ahmadi after being impressed by the teachings of Ahmadiyyat, I had a fear in my heart that had I perhaps made a wrong decision, because seeing the propaganda against the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Guinea Conakry would sometimes cause me to become anxious. But today, I attended Jalsa Salana in the UK, and I can swear by God that all my reservations have been completely extinguished. Attending the Jalsa, I have come to learn. If today anyone can be true representatives of Islam, it is the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. He says, if I get the videos of the Jalsa, I wish to enlighten all my family with those videos and to spread it with them. Finally, she requests for prayers that may Allah the Almighty enable for all my family and relatives to be enabled to accept Ahmadiyyat with all their heart. Chantal Maret is the Counselor General in Benin. She says, I previously attended the 50th Jalsa, and now I express my gratitude for taking part in the 53rd Jalsa Salana. I previously felt the spiritual atmosphere, and I continue to felt it even today, and I have the same sentiments. All elders, youngers, men, women and children all talk to me with love. In terms of the arrangements, I do not have the words to express what I feel about them. The system of the volunteers of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is completely peerless. Everything was in its right place. Everything was of the highest standard. And I found modesty and meekness in every volunteer. They were immersed with the spirit of sacrifice. They were ever ready for every single service. I consider myself as part of this atmosphere and did not feel out of place at all. The speeches were all excellent and filled and replete with knowledge. The hospitality was so good, and I had the opportunity to see this. The exhibitions were excellent. To learn the Ahmadiyya history better, it was very useful. The exhibitions were very enlightening. And then I also came to have the opportunity to learn of the service to mankind of the community through these exhibitions. Gomrat Burstas is a member of parliament from Benin and is also the head of the Finance Commission. I participated in the Ahmadiyya Jalsa Salana for the first time, and it really moved me. When I was beginning my journey for the Jalsa from Benin, I never envisaged that I was going to take part in such a large-scale Jalsa. People of all denominations were present in it, yet I never saw any unhappiness expressed from anyone's countenance. I was so greatly taken care of. From the time of being picked up from the airport to the end, youngsters and elders all so greatly served me, and they took care of my every comfort. It seemed as if they had dedicated their entire lives just to serve us. Different languages, different cultures, different colors, different races, without any police or army. How did you bring about such discipline? How did you bring about such arrangements? I thought, how is this possible? That despite all of this, there was no arguments and fights and quarrels. She said, my thinking is that it may be the case that it is indeed your effort, and it is a divine support with the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. This surely must be the reason why. Regarding my speeches, she said, they are very important. The exhibitions were excellent, she said. I came to know about the history of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I heard about the martyrs of the Ahmadiyyat, and it really moved my heart, and it was a tragedy to hear about it. I learned so much from it. The former Prime Minister and Member of Parliament of Gabon also participated. He says that for people to participate from over 100 countries in thousands of numbers, for me was a very unique experience. Volunteers were in large numbers who worked day and night to take care of our every need. Everyone was always ever ready to help us in every way. Elders, youngsters, men and women. No incident of inappropriateness ever took place. From the speeches during the Jalsa, I learned so much about Islam. In our country, Gabon, Ahmadiyyat is quite new. I thought Ahmadis were like other Muslims, but since I have taken part and I have been invited to the Jalsa, I thought I would go and see the Jalsa in person. What kind of people are they? Is the Ahmadiyyat of Islam the same as I have seen on TV? Those people who are destroying the peace, that is. But seeing here, I am so impressed by the work you are doing. Your Islam is the true Islam. Today the world is in need of this. My country is also in need of this. Then, from Gabon, there is another person who is a Director Cabinet of the Foreign Office. The atmosphere of the Jalsa was spectacular. It was a very spiritual atmosphere, something I can never forget. I was so impacted by the atmosphere of the Jalsa. It was like a chain. Everyone, youngsters and elders, working in unison. Attending the Jalsa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I saw the true depiction of the teachings of the Quran and the Bible. Everyone was staying together as if they are all one family. Then he mentions my speeches and he says that they really affected me. And he says, attending the Jalsa, I was enlightened about many things. I learned numerous aspects of Islam. I am not a Muslim, but now I consider myself a Muslim. During the Jalsa, I went to different exhibitions and stalls. Through this, my knowledge increased greatly. Then Harry Ali is from Central Africa, is a senior minister. He said the arrangements were excellent. There were youngsters, elders, men and women, people from every denomination working as volunteers. They were obeying one Khalifa, and they displayed their proof of displaying a great conduct. They worked day and night for this establishment of brotherhood. Whereas in other organizations, we find not as much sincerity and devotion. He says, the teachings of Islam you have presented are of the highest standard. It's something that pierced my heart. And the teachings I have learned are so different from what I have heard people say about the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. As a result of the lack of understanding, they spread wrong things about the community. On this occasion, from me and my country, I would like to give you congratulations for a successful Jalsa. I invite the Ahmadiyya Muslim community that you should come to my country and spread these teachings of peace. My country, which after many years of unrest is now heading towards peace, it is possible for long-lasting peace through these teachings. He says the atmosphere of the Jalsa was something that was unforgettable. It will be delightful for me to attend the Jalsa every year in order to gain this spiritual tranquility, and for this I pray that I can do this. I will now return and spread the teachings of the Islam Ahmadiyya, that these are the true teachings of Islam. I was greatly affected by taking part in the Pledge of Allegiance. He was taking part in the Pledge of Allegiance, and he said, I was promising that I will try my level best to support this community in my country. He also met me, and he said to me, now consider me your ambassador in the Central African Republic. The Vice Minister of Religion from Paraguay also participated in the Jalsa, Fernando Griffiths. He says, I was so happy to learn about the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and I was so delighted to see thousands of people working as volunteers and fulfilling their duties. They were all there for a joint purpose. I think that Paraguay as a country can learn a great deal from your community. Regarding my speech, he says that you gave a lot of emphasis on the upbringing of children and their teachings, and you emphasized about good relations with others and elders and parents, and in particular mothers and children. You shed light upon the teachings of Islam, and he said this was very pleasing to me. Then he speaks about the arrangements and how good they are. He said despite being temporary arrangements, Idar Safan from Moscow, after attending the Jalsa, said, we are a family who are coming to the Jalsa for the first time to attend the Jalsa. We were really happy with the Jalsa, and we will remember this for a long period of time. We will also inform our friends of this experience. All the arrangements were really good. The work of the volunteers is something that was so pleasing to see. They always presented themselves with such happiness and cheerfulness, always smiling. We saw very young children working as volunteers, and this was so nice to see. We were taken care of everywhere so well. Moro Henry is from Brazil, who is the city council president. He said, as a representative of Brazil, I was so happy to participate in this amazing international Muslim convention. All of the speeches of the Khalifa of the time are a reflection of the true Islam. I spent the 3 days of the Jalsa in a spiritual atmosphere. I did not even realize that if I was tired. The prayers at the Jalsa that I saw were extraordinary, that on one beckoning everyone stood up and sat down. Although she is not a Muslim, she observed the prayers. She said another thing that left a deep impression upon me, which I cannot refrain from expressing, that whatever the Khalifa would say, whatever the Caliph would say, wherever he would come, then thousands of people would immediately fall silent. No one needs to be told to remain silent. This shows that this is not just in the arrangement itself or the organization, but rather in the hearts of the Ahmadis is great love for the Khalifa. I return with all these memories now. She says, all that I have been impressed with I will spread in my place and in my council. This is true Islam. Orly Macias is from Ecuador. She is a bishop, or he is a bishop of his area. The arrangements of the Jalsa were superb. Although the food was different to what I normally eat, I really liked it. The arrangement of the Jalsa was like a big family gathering. I did not feel like a stranger. Despite not knowing the other person, it was as if I was at peace and at home. The speech of the Khalifa included all the ingredients which we need to change our future for the better. The best thing I liked about his speech was that he did not say anything negative about any country or people. Rather, his whole emphasis was upon the true and positive teachings of Islam. The head of the Ahmadiyya community related a hadith, a narration of the Prophet, where he says that on the Day of Judgment, Allah the Almighty will say that I was hungry and thirsty, I was without clothes, you did not give it. The person will say, he says this is also included in the Bible, and so this had a deep impression upon me. I came to know that all of these teachings are from the same one God. May Allah the Almighty also enable him to understand that these teachings from that one God also sent the Holy Prophet, and may they accept true Islam. The guest says that when I left for home from this Jalsa, when I left for the Jalsa from home, I only thought of Islam as a religion by name. But when I came here, I saw that Islam is not just a religion. Rather, it is an extraordinary brotherhood. It is an abode. It is a family. In this harmony and brotherhood and the sacrifice that I have seen from all of you, it has affected my heart. Regarding the international Pledge of Allegiance, he says that I came to realize that this was very special for all the attendees. That's what I knew from before. But as soon as the Pledge of Allegiance started, someone put their hand on my shoulder, so I put my hand on the person on the shoulder in front of me. And I felt that this is a spiritual connection which all of the people of the Jalsa were experiencing. It was a spiritual charge. I felt that after this Pledge of Allegiance, the Ahmadis felt refreshed and rejuvenated, and they were as if they had gained a new life. I am thankful to all people that they gave me the opportunity to participate in this Jalsa and introduce me to the true teachings of Islam. It says, most of all, I have come to realize that because of the wrongful actions of just a minority, we should not consider the entire religion to be blemished. Then I should also say regarding the translation department, she says some shortcomings. MTA translation department says that apart from this, regarding the Spanish translation, the Spanish translation was only available to the seats, if you're sitting on the seats. If somebody would go beyond the seats, they would not be able to hear it, and they could not hear it. The Spanish translation should increase its range. Hazur says not just Spanish, but all the translations, technical side should be checked. Through these guests, we sometimes are learning of our shortcomings. Similarly, from Slovenia, Barbara, she came. She is a professor in Christianity. She says, I have never seen such an Islam which is presented by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Seeing the Jalsa, it was as if I was seeing a new Islam. The arrangements of your Jalsa are absolutely spectacular. No fighting, no quarrels, no dirt. I am very impacted by this. Then she says that the perspective of the Ahmadiyya community regarding the death, the survival of the Jesus and the migration to the East, and it's very influential and affected me. A guest from Bosnia, a family attended from Bosnia, is a civil officer. Sinaj is the head of the family, Bejik. He's a member of parliament. He was a previous civil officer and now is a member of parliament. He says that, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community who enabled me to attend this peaceful and spiritual conference for a few days. The experience of the UK Jalsa was completely new, and I do not have the words to express the beauty and splendor of this Jalsa. The organizers took care of every small need. The exhibition of Humanity First, I learnt from it that this Humanity First is started from my country, where the Ahmadiyya community was selflessly served. A special thing which really affected us, he mentions the meeting with me, and it was a very good meeting. Hazur says the meeting with me he refers to, and it was very good, and this affected me the most. Then he says, I now proclaim today I proclaim that until the end of my life, until my death, I will maintain this relationship of sincerity and friendship. And in Bosnia and beyond Bosnia, to the most of my capability, I present myself to help you in every respect. Monis Sarnava from Slovenia, he is a journalist, is a born Muslim. However, he never had any interest in Islam. He was only a Muslim by name. For the last 2 years, he said, I started learning about Islam and I started offering my prayers. But I never said prayers behind any imam. Here, the delight I found with people saying their prayers behind the imam of the Ahmadiyya community was something completely different. In the last 2 years, when I had more interest towards Islam, I never followed any particular domination. Instead, I tried to learn Islam through my own intellect. In any case, when I came to know about Ahmadiyyat, it seemed as if the teachings of Ahmadiyyat was the Islam that I was learning about. Everything is according to human nature. Another thing which this guest liked is she says that Ahmadis practice what they preach. Hazur says, this is a big challenge for us. We should always remember that we should always practice what we preach. We should do what we say. There is a Russian guest, is it, who says that I attended the Jalsa for the first time. My paternal grandfather inspired me to attend the Jalsa and said, go and attend it. What I found just is I'm astonished seeing the people of this community. All the Ahmadis always present themselves with the best morals and conduct and are always ready to help and are always ready to give me good advice. There was a group from Holland, Van Bommel, who is a former member of parliament. There was also another lady The former Member of Parliament says that I know the community very well and I've attended Jalsas in the past. But still, I was so impacted by the arrangements of the Jalsa. I still do not understand how the volunteers so spectacularly facilitate all the arrangements. There is someone else from Iranian descent. She was also very impacted by the Jalsa arrangements. In particular, she was amazed that how did the Ahmadiyya Muslim community arrange this to such a large scale in the way that they did. And in this respect, she was introduced to Salman the Persian and how it relates to the coming and the arrival of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. In any case, a good effect was placed upon them. Vascos Sahib, who is from Naples University, is a professor. He says that Jalsa Salana was so successful for me. I heard the concluding address of the Imam of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and I really liked it. What I liked was when he spoke about the rights of the families and children, and in particular the rights of women. I also participated in the International Pledge of Allegiance debate, and I was very emotional taking part in it. From Italy, Madalena, who's a Vatican Islamic, who got a PhD in Vatican University in Islamic, she says the Jalsa Salana was so good and was filled with love. Every arrangement was excellent, the speeches were so good, and it was not only for the members of the Ahmadiyya community but for all guests, and something to increase our knowledge. The way Ahmadiyyat introduced Islam better was something very good. Javad Bolam is from France Ministry of Justice. For the first time I participated in the Jalsa. I was pleased to learn about the Jalsa from so close. IEEE and Humanity First exhibitions I saw, and to see your humanitarian efforts was very impactful. This is the real thing, to serve without distinction of race or culture. The arrangements for security and the general arrangements really impacted her. She said there was professionalism in all the organizations. There was a guest from the Spain delegation who says, the guest says, mentioning love for all, hatred for none, that I think that this convention spectacularly reflects this. I saw different types of people. This is such a religion which should be spread to spread justice. I will always remember these moments and I will never be able to forget them. From Brazil, Don Francisco, who is a Catholic Christian and is an owner of a newspaper and is also from a well-known family, says that I often have to meet people relating to religious affairs, but the excellent organization I saw in the Jalsa was something that really moved me. I learned so many new things and I feel a change within me. Once I went to a mosque in India with my wife and I saw very inappropriate actions from the Muslims, but here at the Jalsa and after, in contrast, I saw such high standards being exhibited. Former member of the Socialist Party of Spain, Steco, says, I consider myself far removed from religious teachings, but practically the Ahmadiyya Muslim community spreads love, and this is why I've come close to them. Yesterday in the Pledge of Allegiance, it brought about so many emotions into me, and this is why I am so emotional. This is something which is unforgettable for me. I learned from this, in these days, I felt that I am Ahmadi, and I felt that Ahmadis want to spread it. A retired justice was from Bangladesh, and says, I am not Ahmadi, but Ahmadis are Muslims. And there are persecution against Ahmadis for a long period of time. As a human rights activist, on the basis of human values, I support Ahmadis. And I have seen the discipline, arrangements and organization and of the Jalsa and the members of the community, the love for the Khalifa and their respect was something that left a deep impression upon my heart. I had all the speeches very attentively, and some of my own personal reservations were removed. Ahmadis should speak out to the greatest degree possible, so all the reservations against them should be dispelled. I previously thought that Ahmadis do not accept the Holy Prophet as a seal of the Prophets, the Khatamun Nabiyyin. But this is untrue. I came here and learned this. In short, I learned a great deal from this Jalsa. And I would like to thank the Imam of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. There is a person from a Catholic who is a science, British Society of the Turin Shroud, who is the former editor, Hugh Ferry. I have been coming to the Jalsa for 5 years, and I have to say, that it has not let me take out this spirit which I felt during the first Jalsa, that great passion when I was invited for the first time. I am an expert of the Shroud of Turin, and this is such a cloth which the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are greatly interested in, because they feel that this is an evidence that the Messiah did not die on the cross, Jesus. Despite this, that does not stop them from inviting experts, amongst whom the majority of those who believe the opposite, that it proves that the person died. They do not care which religion they come from, they still call them. My own experience and analysis is, I do not deny the Ahmadi's view that he survived and went to the east to Kashmir and migrated. He says that I also believe what the Ahmadis believe. In the Review of Religions exhibition, it is evidence of their peaceful nature of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. He says there were various discussions and panel discussions that took place. There is a doctor from America who came, who is a trauma surgeon, and he is working on it. And he was amongst the first Ahmadi experts who came on the panel. His personal experience and deep scope also supported the evidence further. He was presenting evidence that the person on the cloth has survived the crucifixion. So he was quite impacted. Then Peter Williams, who is a Cambridge University professor, he is also a member of the Shroud of Turin member and from Cambridge University. He said, "This is my first Jalsa. I am sorrowful I could not attend before. I will want to come to further Jalsas, and I believe that I will certainly come to future Jalsas. But I was greatly impacted by this meeting. In such a large number of people, for people to be attended, and for so much effort to be expended, and for everything to happen with so much love, and for the exhibition of the Turin to make so much effort and with such seriousness that the Ahmadiyya community held this exhibition of the Shroud, proves that these people are desireful to learn more about it, that they want to learn more about it, even though we ourselves have not been able to understand it fully." Then the Cambridge, from Canada, the Aboriginal people were represented. Chief Muhammad Henry says, "Attending the Jalsa Salana was very important for me because it has transformed my life. Now I know about Islam many times more than before, and I have come to know that there are many similarities. It was very astonishing for me to learn that Islam gives equal rights to women. Previously, I was always seeing men given more rights in my mind. But then, because previously I only saw the men in the Jalsa, but then I was shown the women, and I saw that they have equal rights. Many non-Ahmadis are unaware of this, and I will let them know that there is no distinction between the rights of men and women in Islam. Then they also met me, and he has some impressions, and they had a very big impression of this. Chief Rainwan, after attending the Jalsa Salana, says that I am very happy that I was able to address such a large Jalsa Salana. I could never think how peaceful Islam is and how much it brings people towards Allah. I wished to give the head of the Ahmadi community the biggest honor, or that they should give it. So I mentioned this to my host, and for this I decided that I would wear my headdress, which has some feathers on it, that the feathers which are so valuable for us, I should take it out and I should present it to the head of the Ahmadiyya community. This is such an honor that I have never given to any leader till today. I really respect the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and their beliefs. Then he even gave me those feathers from his headgear during the meeting. There is a guest from Belize, Renan Trio, who is director of news of Love FM, of this channel called Love FM. The unity I saw in the Ahmadiyya community is something that pierces your soul. We were given such great facilities. The organization was very organized. All the things that the Ahmadiyya communities had said were according to the need of the time. What affected me the most was what you said about women and with their rights. This experience enabled me to learn about the teachings of Islam even better. Through attending the Jalsa, I was able to raise various questions, and I benefited by this. Then Chester Williams from Belize, who is the police commissioner from Belize, says, I have been able to increase my knowledge of Islam. Through participating in this Jalsa, or before this, I thought that all Muslims are the same. Then I learned that there are different sects. And I felt that Ahmadis promote peace more, and they give a lot of energy to the upbringing of the youth. Congress staff and also the various representatives of religious freedom officially attended. Then there were the Uyghur Muslims from China. Their representatives were also present. They said that Jalsa Salana UK and USA, I have attended both of them. And it was very astonishing for me to see how the Ahmadiyya community works. All volunteers work so selflessly, and this really moved me. This Jalsa attracted the youth towards unity and harmony. And then he mentioned further impressions. I will now leave the rest. There is one journalist from Argentina I'll mention. As a journalist, I have an opportunity to attend various guests. But what is extraordinary about your Jalsa is that all attendees seem like hosts. So the participants are the organizers. In other events, it is clearly, there is a clear distinction between the organized and the participants. In fact, to do an event at this scale, people are hired. But at your event, it seemed like all attendees are guests as well as hosts. Whenever there was a need, the guest turned into a host, and so on. And Hazur said this is the beauty which should be found in every single Jalsa. From Colombia, someone related to a newspaper said that what the head of the Ahmadi community said about human values was really pleasing. As a journalist, I am able to meet many important people of societal importance. I met the head of the Ahmadiyya community and it's really good to meet him. It is my desire that the people of Colombia are enlightened about these true teachings of Islam, and for this Ahmadi missionaries are sent there. There is a great need for this in my country. Of Uganda, there is a CEO of an organization. I saw a very large-scale organization. There was no army to discipline. In Jesus in India, I saw the exhibition. There was an organizer. I spoke to her. She told me references of the Bible and told me such things I had never heard of. I was very astonished to learn that Ahmadis have greater knowledge of the Bible than Christians. Then there is from Bolivia a TV show, and they said it was a very successful experience, and said I previously attended in Jalsa Salana, Canada, and attending this I came to learn about the true teachings of Islam. The atmosphere of the Jalsa and the various speeches removed all my misunderstandings and wrong conceptions about Islam from my mind. From Ukraine, there was a person, Igor, who is an expert on religious affairs, who has done a PhD. He has even written 2 books. He has studied in depth the literature of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. He attended the Jalsa and also did debate the Pledge of Allegiance. He is the first Ahmadi from Ukraine. He mentions his impressions. I have attended many international conferences and events relating to religion. But attending the Jalsa Salana, this had such an impact upon my soul and my heart, which will continue from this life to the next. Such was the impact. Then he says that in the Arabic language there is a beautiful word nur, which means light. And the Jalsa Salana is a light of love, which is illuminating the entire mankind through it. Then he says this speeches of the Khalifatul Masih, the Caliph, helped me to understand what the real purpose of my living in this world is. Then he really acknowledged and appreciated the work of the organizers. Then there is an impression from Mexico, Maria. I have only been a Muslim for 2 months. I had many questions regarding the religion. But as a result of attending the Jalsa Salana, my knowledge and information regarding Islam has increased. All my questions have been answered and my reservations abated. These are unforgettable moments experiencing the Jalsa. Participating in Jalsa has made me proud that I am a Muslim. Today I have pledged that now I will wear my hijab, my head covering, so proudly. There is a new convert from Paraguay who says, I have heard your addresses and they were very good. Your addresses answered all the questions that I had in my mind. It seemed as if your speech, saying to Hazur the guest, your speech was an answer to everything I had in my mind. Hazur says this is also the help and support of Allah the Almighty, that He enables such speeches and events to occur, and it has an effect on people's mind in a positively. Then there is a report of press and media. I will leave out the rest of the impressions. 138 reports. The media coverage continues. According to the reports, it has reached over 173 million people, and those who coverage BBC Radio 4, BBC World Service, BBC Asian Network, Telegraph, Dutch National Newspaper, Sky News, ITV, Express, Huffington Post, Press Association, News Agency, EFE, Spanish News Agency, Yahoo News, and in many countries, UK, Brazil, Holland, Argentina, Panama, India, Chile, Peru, Venezuela, Cameroon, Nigeria, Belgium, Ghana, Italy. In all these countries, there was media coverage. Through MTA Africa, 19 channels, with the grace of Allah, the coverage was given. With the grace of the Almighty Allah, with the Jalsa taking part, apart from them participating, non-Ahmadis also have many impressions who watched these programs and were very affected. May Allah the Almighty, for the Ahmadis attending the Jalsa, increase their faith and conviction, and to everything they have learnt, may they implement it in their lives. And through the press and media, the news that has spread to the world, may Allah the Almighty make it so that it has an effect on the hearts of people, and it becomes a means of them accepting Ahmadiyyat, the true Islam. After the Friday prayers, I will also lead a funeral prayer in absentia, which is of Mujibur Rahman Sahib, advocate. He passed away on the 30th of July 2019 in Rabwa at Tahir Heart Institute at the age of 85. Surely to Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. Mujibur Rahman Sahib, with the grace of Allah, was a Musi. Maulana Zir Rahman Sahib, his father, was a missionary. In childhood, he sent Mujib Sahib to Qadian with his mother and with the rest of his brothers and sisters from Bangladesh. His father was the very first earliest students of Hafiz Roshan Ali Sahib, Mullah Jalaluddin Shams Sahib, and all these elders were there. For about 36 years he served. Mujibur Rahman Sahib, from his profession, was a lawyer, and he was a very successful lawyer, and he also served the Jamaat greatly. In 1980, the third Khalifa appointed him the Amir, the president of Rawalpindi, and until the 90s he remained. In 1974, the mosque on Murray Road, Rawalpindi, the mosque, in its case, or the litigation, he played a big role. In 1978, he was in the High Court. There were so many Jamaat cases that he represented as a lawyer, and he fulfilled the right. In 1978, he became a standing member of the Majlis Shura. Then, in the amendment of the Jamaat's constitution, he played a role. He was also a member of the Jurisprudence Committee. In 1977-78, he had the opportunity to deliver addresses at the Jalsa Salana in the topic of Islam and religious freedom. In 1979, Islam's response to contemporary issues, the peaceful teachings of Islam, and all these topics, he gave speeches. He also had the opportunity to participate in various programs on Jalsa. He gave answers to different opponents. He had a lot of religious knowledge as well as secular knowledge with the grace of Almighty Allah, and he also was a great orator. As a result, Allah the Almighty had given him special ability. through which he benefited greatly, and he also was able to serve the Jamaat. Allah the Almighty gave him this opportunity. He came on various programs on MTA, interviews of various people. In 1984, in terms of the amendment, the law that was being passed, he was able to represent as a lawyer. He also had the opportunity in the military courts to represent with the cases against the Jamaat. He also had an opportunity to serve in the cases of those Ahmadis who were prisoners in the way of Allah. He was also a important pillar of the team, also in the conference in other places, in England, Germany, Switzerland, America, Canada, Japan. In terms of human rights, he had the opportunity to attend seminars with people of a similar persuasion and to exchange views. In Minnesota State University in America, he had the opportunity to address students who are studying law. And he also recorded 18 hours of his statement in Germany relating to his certain views. In 2014, in America, for different lectures, he was invited to the United States to give lectures at different universities. And the topic was religion and freedom of conscience. In Rice University in 2017, there was a Quran conference where he was invited to speak. Hazur says, I sent him there, and there he represented. And he fulfilled his responsibilities, and he truly did. And he presented the beauties of the teachings of the Holy Quran, and in light of the teachings of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. In Switzerland and Canada, he had the opportunity to advise in terms of immigration. He had so many services with the grace of the Almighty Allah. He served the Jamaat in a spirit of complete dedication. Whatever responsibilities were entrusted to him, he strived to fulfill. And he really fulfilled it. He was married to his paternal cousin, and his wife passed away in 1999. He left behind with 3 sons, Azir Rahman Maz, who is an advocate in Rawalpindi. He is also helping in Jamaat cases. Dr. Ahdar Rahman Maz, and then is Khalil Rahman, who is in Pakistan. May Allah the Almighty give mercy and forgiveness to the deceased, and may he be given a space in paradise amongst his beloved ones. As I said, after the Friday prayers, I will lead his funeral prayers.
Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر